Call the meeting, the area plan to order. Please join in the pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do the roll call, please.
Okay. Jerry Govan,
Here.
Zane Bedore, Mark Flum,
Here.
Ed Harrell,
Here.
Carl Hilton,
Yep.
Jason Waterman,
Here.
Dave Nobby, Brian Jennings,
Here.
James Barrett.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. I'm certain all of you've memorized the minutes of the last meeting, so therefore I need an approval.
I move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Move and second to approve the minutes of the June 10th meeting. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Minutes approved. Next item on the agenda, public hearing. Bill, you want to fill us in on that?
Okay, Mr. Nobby contacted me by email that he was unable to be here because something came up he's required to attend as far as his work with the school goes. And my recommendation would be this evening, because Mr. Nobby has, feels strongly about some issues related to it. I haven't had a direct conversation with him as far as any of the changes that were made, particularly as far as the process. So I would ask out of respect for Mr. Nobby, for it to be tabled until next month. But if there's any other questions or comments that anybody has about any of the changes or anything else, we can discuss those.
Bring me up to speed on that.
Okay.
He's not present tonight, but he's informed you of what?
Okay, he had to go out of town with something related to his work at school.
That's fine.
And because Mr. Nobby has stated some issues and concerns, that I think out of respect for Mr. Nobby, it would be appropriate to table it so that Mr. Nobby can be here for the actual discussion and hopefully a vote on the plan review amendment.
Concerns about approving this, is that a problem?
Well, what it is Mr. Nobby had some concerns over the procedure as far as the having the authority. So he was hoping to have something more along the lines of the subdivision approval process. So that was a significant change that I did make. I did simplify that a bit, and instead of 1 acre to 5 acres or more than 5 acres, the primary changes were to with the under 1 acre, or anything that actually requires review, is that if it passes the Technical Advisory Committee, that then I still feel that in those cases, it should then be approved then for the actual permitting process, because that indicates that it's met all the requirements of the zoning code. It's met the requirements of and concerns of, for example, the police department, fire safety, and the fire department of public safety. It's met the requirements of it's like Connersville utilities as far as water and sewer is adequate, and then also the drainage review. So, but then anything else that would require the either recommended changes, and then also any rejection is to them with the Area Plan Commission. And
So are you saying that we shouldn't act on this because he's not present?
I think out of respect for Mr. Nobby, because things were done out of related to his concerns. So I think that when someone who isn't, me personally, I think that if someone isn't here who has a concern about a particular amendment or piece of legislation, I think it's fair to the individual for them to be there in the actual final discussion.
Mr. President, I would agree with Bill. I know Mr. Navi had more concerns than anybody else here about the way this is written. So, and that's whether we do or do not act on it, but he did have more concerns than anybody else, I think.
Would you move that we postpone it then?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we postpone it.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we're postponing action. The hearing is scheduled for tonight, right?
That's correct for the discussion in the public hearing for the zoning code amendment. So then it'll be postponed and tabled further until the August 12th Area Plan Commission meeting.
Okay, do you have-
I just was gonna ask the question, since this is a scheduled public hearing, if there might be anyone here this evening that came with the intention to speak on this particular subject,
Good idea.
Good point.
maybe we should give them the opportunity to speak.
John, is that proper? We open up for comments even though.
If there are people here that came for that purpose, it doesn't hurt to hear what they have to say. They may want to come back at the official meeting and reiterate what they have to say. Not when I say, I mean, the meeting whereby it's going to be considered for vote. They may want to reiterate what they have to say, but it doesn't hurt to get opinions tonight.
Especially if they showed up.
Yeah, they were here for that purpose, if anybody is, I don't know. That doesn't look like it.
So everybody understand that one of the members of the board had more concerns than anybody else on the board about
Yes, he did.
this. Couldn't be present because of his job.
That has to do with zoning code amendments. It's nothing to do with what you folks are here on, I don't believe.
You're talking about parking in Heights.
No, not right now.
No, this is has to do with our zoning code, amending the zoning code, so.
Is that clear for everybody? Or somebody?
It doesn't sound like anyone's here that came to this meeting because of the public hearing for this code amendment.
Are we correct on that?
Okay.
Because if people show up, I don't want them to be left out and make that trip in there. Okay, so we have a motion and second, postpone that, part of the zoning code till the next regular meeting,
This August 12th,
till the next
2014.
regular meeting.
Yep, correct.
And I have a second for that.
Jason? I seconded it.
I'm sorry.
I seconded it.
Okay, we need to get a vote on that,
Okay,
postponing till the next regular meeting.
all right. Postponing till next regular meeting. Jerry Goben,
Yes.
Zane Bedore, I'm sorry, not here. Mark Plum,
Yes.
Ed Harrell,
Yes.
Carl Hilton,
Yes.
Jason Waterman,
Yes.
Brian Jennings,
Yes.
James Barrett.
Yes.
Okay, I'm unanimous.
Been postponed till next regular meeting,
Now,
unanimous decision there.
okay, our next item is a Area Plan Commission Resolution 2013-01. It's called the Wayzata Economic Development Area. Now, I think some of the members in 2009 will recall the resolution for when it was, they created the Vistion area, was the Carbon Motors Economic Development Area. Now, Mr. Baker will explain what's happening with this. If I'm correct, the only thing really is the resolution, everything else that had to do with that development area district. Is it correct that only the name is actually changing?
That's basically it, yeah, I'll explain it here. There's a lot of legalese in this resolution. But what it's saying is, on December 7, 2009, the Connersville Redevelopment Commission created an economic development area at the Vistion site. And it was approved by this board. And named Carbon Motors Corporation as a designated taxpayer for tax increment finance purposes and pursuant to statute. And then on June 24th this year, the redevelopment commission amended that previous amendment and to change the name of the area and the designated taxpayer to Wayzata Connersville LLC, who is the entity that has executed a purchase agreement for the Visteon building. And the city, not the county, just the city, is going to be involved with, apparently with tax increment finance and the issuance of bonds to help them raise money to pump into the old building, to bring it up to speed. That's the reason for the tax increment financing. No property tax backup or anything like that. It's all, as a matter of fact, the company's going to buy the bonds, or one of their subsidiaries is going to buy the bonds, as last reported to us. So this resolution needs to be passed. It's just statutory, it's required, and basically the Plan Commission hereby finds and determines that the resolution and the plan conform in all respects, it says, to the plan of development for the city. That's the comprehensive plan. And accordingly, the resolution and the plan are hereby approved. Do you have any questions about that?
Any more questions? Anybody in the audience? Okay, we have a motion and a second, right? Need to vote?
I move to pass the resolution as presented.
Vote, thank you.
Do
Now,
a vote, okay. Jerry Goodman,
Yes.
Mark Plum,
Yes.
Ed Harrell,
Yes.
Carl Hilton,
yes,
Jason Waterman,
Yes.
Brian Jennings,
Yes.
James Barrett.
Yes.
We have unanimous.
been passed by unanimous vote. Next item on the agenda. Go down to director's report. Right, Bill?
Correct. And that was passed out to everybody this evening.
So have I had a chance to memorize that? No?
Yeah.
And just for the information of the board members is that the last month or so, things have really started to pick up inspection-wise. And,
That's good and bad.
well, it's a little bit of both. As far as good, that it means that there's some construction activity, which means people are getting paid, and then the flow through in the economy. Now, the bad part is that it really places a stress on my time, and it does reduce, I found that it does reduce the amount of time that I can actually, it has taken away from some of the afternoon office hours we were hoping to keep reserved for the, for all the office activities. So it does bleed into the afternoon, and particularly with some of the concrete projects we've had.
Well, obviously, that has a priority in the afternoon, if that's what we have to do.
Yes, absolutely it does. And so it's pinching time for everything trying to do with this office.
That will keep you busy.
I was busy enough where I lose my mind, but yeah, busy's good.
It looks like you're averaging about 2 inspections a day on average.
Yeah, and there's some days where, there's one day where, for example, is up on the Union Savings Project, they were using with the plumbing, there's cast iron plumbing, and there ended up being I was up there a long time because of trying to find the various leaks within it. So we finally got everything passed, but it's just it can be very time involved, and No, Mr. Flum realizes how much time inspections can
What were they
take.
using the cast iron for?
Sanitary.
They were?
Why is beyond me. I think it's the first time since I've been here on new construction I've seen cast sanitary.
Agreed.
So there's a lot of problem with the joints. Yeah, so they finally took care of them,
Okay.
just the clamps.
So,
So that was all I had to add, was just a little bit of commentary to go with with that for the members of the plan commission.
I move to accept the director's report.
second. I have a second. Second. All in favor of accepting director's report, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. We're off the hook again. Now we're ready for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Meeting's adjourned.
The July 8th meeting of the Fayette County Board of Zoning Appeals is now called to order. Would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Brenda, could we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Bill Crawford. Jason Waterman.
Here.
Carl Hilton.
Here.
Carrie Steele. Here. Kenny Burgess.
Here.
You have a quorum?
Okay, very good. Next item would be the approval of the minutes of our meeting on June 10th.
I move to approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes approved. Moving on to public hearing, we have a petition from Larry Gabbard. This was continued from last month for property at 1547 East, County Road 150 North, asking for variance for front yard setback, rear yard setback, and the minimum lot size of 1 acre. The property was made non-conforming in that respect due to the Fayette County purchase of land for reconstruction of a bridge on County Road 150 East. So, Mr. Gabbard, if you could sign in, and we have another board member present this month, so kind of refresh all of our minds a little bit as to the situation out there. And go ahead.
Well, I put it up for sale, and Mr. William, he come out and bought it, and I agreed to sell it to him. It has single wide mobile home on it, which the last renter that we had in there, we had to evict them due to substantial trash and just they just wasn't following the rules at all. So once we got them out, someone then broke back into it a few weeks later, set it on fire and burned it. So me and my wife, I work 7 days a week, really don't have time to take care of it. It was just kind of a trial and error thing. And we had to buy a bigger house because I got custody of my other kids from my ex-wife, and it was just too small. So we decided to put it up for sale, and Mr. Rainey called me up, said he'd be interested in buying it, but he doesn't want to put a single wide back in there. He wants to put a modular home. So that's why we applied for the variances on the property, because of the setbacks. It's going to be closer to the property lines than what they want.
Any questions for Mr. Gabbard?
Now, I think that, just to refresh, is that there's 2 actions that were made by the Fayette County government that created a non-conforming condition for this property. The first action was the adoption of the current zoning codes, which includes the, with the yard requirements. Now, what happened was, it made the way it made Mr. Gabbard's property non-conforming is due to the width, so it had to end with the front and the rear yard setbacks. It met the requirements as far as the lot area, but it was made non-conforming due to setbacks. Now,
So the lot was already in existence when the code was adopted.
that is correct, so it was already there. Now, the second action on the party of county government that resulted in a non-conforming condition was the purchase of the land for the widening of 150 East. Now, that reduced it from the minimum lot acreage of 1 acre, 1 acre down to .845 acres. So like I said, what we have is there's two actions on the party of the county that has directly affected the, Mr. Gabbard, that particular.
Who did they purchase the land from?
Okay, the land itself was purchased from Mr. Gabbard by the county, and it's one of those situations whereas in the process of widening it's the sort of thing otherwise it could have been taken through eminent domain because it's a public good for expanding the county highway. So it's the sort of thing where there really isn't much of an option for a property owner in those situations to say, no, I'm not going to sell you any land for your road.
But he would have got paid either way, as far as that goes.
For that particular thing, but not for the entire
Right.
property itself.
Anybody have questions for Mr. Gabbard? Nope. Alrighty, I'll then open it up to anyone in the audience that would like to come up and speak on this issue. Please just sign in and introduce yourself to us.
My name is Mark McCowan. I live at 1538 East, 150 North, which is directly across from this property. And this has been an ongoing problem even when Larry lived there. Personally, Larry's a friend of mine. I have nothing against him. I do have a lot against this property. As I said, we live directly across from it. Our property values has dropped because this situation has went on since Larry lived there. As a matter of fact, Mr. McDaniels went up there because they were tearing apart trucks and stuff in the front yard and made them move them to the bottom and made them put a privacy fence around them because it looked so bad, which has continued. This is the third trailer. One burnt, one a tree fell into, the last one burnt. I've lived there 20 years. Before that, I can't tell you. The trailer the tree fell into was dragged down into the bottom, and it sat there for months. Then it was disassembled right down there in that field. It's not a field, it's a yard. During the process of this, there's fiberglass everywhere. I have pictures of that. If you would care to see them, I'd be glad to show them to you, to get a little idea of what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about a trash bag. I'm talking about trash bags. I numbered the pictures. My wife's not Max Ellison, so they're a little blurry. That picture number 1 is a picture of insulation. Picture number 2 is another picture of the insulation. It covers a significant portion of this lot. Myself, my wife, my next door neighbor, all three of us have COPD. Picture number 4 is a whole truckload of shingles 20 feet from the creek. That is 3/4 of a mile from the river. I've seen that creek out of its bank numerous times over the last 20 years. One time, and next year when they clean out the river, they can clean out shingles. There's a pile of brush there. I'm not sure what all's in the brush. There was mattresses and truck caps. Some of that has been cleaned up. The picture of the square is a well that is dry was approximately 15 foot deep. In the bottom of that well is a riding lawnmower, several car batteries, and who knows what. I called the EDIM Wednesday and voiced my concerns over the insulation, the shingles, and not only Larry, but several of his renters. It was basically a junkyard. And when you tear motors apart, the quantity that they was doing, the front yard is saturated with oil, antifreeze, and all your contaminants that you don't want leaching over into that creek. They moved in vehicles at Bill's request to the bottom of this property. It's, I'm going to say 50 yards down. Put a fence around it. There was so much fluid on the ground there, the grass was burnt off, it was solid dirt. The EDIM's supposed to come out and look at that. They were very concerned. There's not a whole lot I can say. Like I said, over the last 20 years, the first few years was fine. After Mr. Gabbard bought it, our property values just went like this. Our last two appraisals, the house appraised, and they said that if you try to get it, with this across their street from you, it'll never happen. And if it was a once in a while thing, it'd be one thing, but this has been ongoing. And I got another little bit of a problem, because a year ago I asked Bill, because I offered Larry money for this property, strictly to clean it up, mow it, and pay taxes on it. So I didn't have to look at this situation. And I was informed by you that it was not 1 acre, that Larry's trailer, he did not replace it within 90 days, so the grandfather clause was gone. Nothing could be built on this property, is exactly what I was told.
Well, what it was is that 90 days is a mobile home upgrade. And that's what could not, I told you, could not be replaced back on the property.
I told you I was going to build a grooming shop there. I wasn't putting a trailer in.
Yeah, but
You said nothing could be built on that property because it was not 1 acre, and a trailer could not be moved back in there because the grandfather clause had lapsed.
yeah, what it had to do was with that. Now, the other issue related to it is also used for residential use. Now, when you're talking about the grooming shop, you're also talking about a commercial business, and that's an agricultural district where his property is located.
If it's agricultural, why is the people moving in there?
Okay, agricultural is single-family dwellings are a legally permitted use in any agricultural district. Now, a manufactured housing, such as what is being discussed for this variance, is it's a manufactured home on a full foundation, and under federal laws, under HUD regulations, any district that you actually require that allows single-family dwellings is you have to allow the manufactured home, but they have to meet things, requirements such as your minimum square footage. They have to meet the requirements of the, like I said, minimum square footage, require them to be on a foundation.
My wife and me have been business owners in this community for over 17 years. We've lived there for 20 years. If I wanted to build a grooming shop there, I should at least have the same opportunity as somebody moving in a trailer to come in front of these very people and say, do I have your blessing in doing so? And you know from inspecting the swimming pool behind our house, there was 4 or 5 inspections. You know that I go by the law. The same thing would happen across the road. I was told straight up, that's a lot. Do you have a homeowners association at Shelton's Flat? I said, no, we do not. You said, that's a shame because you guys could go together and buy that lot and make it a playground for children.
Exactly.
I have no children that play in the playground. My grandchildren would not play on that dirt till it's cleaned up.
Now, and the other part is when you're talking about a business, that's a general business use, which is allowed in local business district, general business district, planned business district. So what you're talking about is a business use. In order to have ended up having a business there would have required a rezone.
When I asked you, I was gonna buy the property, clean it up and mow it. I said, I might put a grooming shop there. No, nothing.
Because
Nothing
it
is
was
in there.
an agricultural district. Now, and the one I told you with the 90 days, that was the mobile home upgrade.
Is this forum ran by Robert's Rules of Orders?
Negative, sir, has its own special, when it's adopted. The zoning board has its own rules of procedure that's adopted as required by the Indiana Code and is not run by Robert's Rules of Order.
That's fine with me. Have you any more to say to me?
No, sir?
I would like to let you know I'm definitely against it. 3 trailers later, 10 to 13 years down the road, I've seen no improvements. My property value keeps dropping. It's a bad enough situation with the economy the way it is in this county to try and keep your home's value up. When you got a situation across the street that never improves, I would be afraid to guess how many times your department, between Larry and his various renters, made trips to that property. I would be afraid to guess the times.
Yeah, we did, and I will admit, there's a history of each time it would start to clean, it would go back to what it was. So, yeah, it would
It's still
start
that
over.
way. And I'm not talking about trash bags hanging in the trees and beer cans on the ground. I'm talking about some serious infractions. If you guys do, you're gonna do whatever you wanna do. I would recommend you wait till Indianapolis gets done looking at this. It's totally up to you. You are the chiefs. That's about all I have to say today.
Thank you for
Thank
coming
you
up.
very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you for coming up and sharing your concerns. Anyone else want to come up and speak?
Before he gets started, can I offer a piece of experience with IDEM and the...
Go right ahead, Carrie.
It will help a little bit, I think, because it would matter to me. IDEM won't take action against a facility, whether it's a residential, commercial, or anything, unless the dump area is over a ½ acre in size. And so, and they will come out and check, just so that you know, so that you can better gear your calls. What you need to do is, it either needs to be more than a ½ acre, or if it is actively causing a spill into the creek. That's when they can take action. They can't take action otherwise.
This is a 7/8 of an acre, I was just informed, after the bridge was put on, from one end to the other, is a mess. I have health issues. The ground's covered with fiberglass insulation from one end to where they tore the trailer apart on the other.
Then they might be able to.
I have health issues. My wife has health issues. My neighbor has health issues. This is a neighbor on the east side. He has health issues. And like I said, it's not just something event. It's been an ongoing thing for years and years and numerous attempts. And I understand what you're saying.
Right, and the other thing is that way when they're there, make sure you get the number of who came out.
They got bigger fish to fry.
Well, but if you get their phone number,
Paper trail.
then, so you get it documented once, and then honestly, wait till it rains, and then you call them and have them come out while it's raining, and there's probably a violation. That's how
Should
you,
I wait until the creek comes over the bank and takes the shingles
they won't do
down?
anything until it does.
Who's gonna pick them up out of the creek and the river?
I just am trying, honestly, I'm trying to help. I agree, I'm just trying to, that was,
Yeah, IDEM has its own rules they have
Yes,
to work by,
exactly.
so.
All the neighbors around this property is banging their heads against the wall,
yeah.
trying. And it's, like I said, it's been an ongoing thing for numerous years.
All right, thank you. All right, now, sir.
Mark Messer, I was here at the last meeting on the round south of the lot in question. Do I need to re-express my concern as I did in the first meeting?
Since we had another board member with us tonight that was not present at the previous one, feel free to share whatever you wish.
Okay. Well, the situation on buying off of him for the expansion of the bridge is an east-west situation. The north-south situation is what is in question for the tolerance of being within what he needs to be to put a modular home or whatever on there.
The setback.
The setback. Was that lot an acre before that?
Yes, it was.
It was? Okay, I didn't know it was. But still, like I said, it's the north-south situation. Because the east-west, there's plenty of room. I think it's a safety hazard. I've seen the creek get up in there. If he's too close to my property line and I build a fence, he's not gonna be able to get out his back door if he needs to, maybe, if he don't get far enough from it. And that was my main concerns in the beginning, that it was a safety issue also. And the previous trailers have been within a foot or two of my property line before, and I never could get anything done about that, so I don't know what the situation was as far as what was allowed and all that. So that's pretty much it. Thank you.
And,
Correct me if I'm wrong, but what they're proposing will not be as close to the,
that is correct. And another thing also is to reiterate is that is not currently identified by the Division of Water, Indiana Department of Natural Resources Division of Water as being within a flood hazard area, nor on the new mapping is it indicated as being within a flood hazard area.
Since you've lived there, is it flooded on your property?
One time. One time, I lived there 8 years. But I wanted to go back with what Mark was talking about, because I know for a fact this well he's talking about is enclosed. Nothing can get down inside of it. It's got a 3-foot drop.
Except batteries.
There's nothing can get down inside of it.
okay. All right, hold up, we do have some proper procedures. You can have a chance to redress after everybody has a chance to
Okay.
speak, so. Does anybody else wish to come up and speak? Okay.
I've lived there since 1979.
Refresh me with your name, sir.
I've been there since 1979.
But your name, I forget
Wade
from
Cornett.
Wade, okay, thank you.
And ever since them men bought that place, they ain't been nothing but a trash pile and a dump. You can't go out in your yard and enjoy yourself, cook out or anything like that for the smell. Ever since he's been there, and they keep letting people move in there, that makes it worse. And they had some dogs out there, and boxed up 3 of them in a plastic bag and throw them over on me, little puppies. And it about stumped me out of the place. And I got rid of them, and I don't know, it just keeps on going every time. And I'm just getting tired of it. I don't want no trailers in there, I don't want people in there. I know you say we can't do nothing after we get them in there if they tear the place up and junk the place and dump the place, why, you can't do nothing about it. I've had the sheriff out there, they got started coming out there. On everything that I reported. And everything I reported was the truth, so I don't lie to nobody. So I just hope we don't get somebody in there now, if we do, I hope we don't, that's gonna do this. Cause it's gonna make my property, I couldn't even sell it, couldn't give it away. If it's, get up like it was there for about 2 or 3 months. Bad. Right out my front door, sacks of trash, garbage, and everything else.
I think some people's concerns are if they don't allow them to put this new structure there, somebody to live there, it's just gonna get worse, or nobody's ever gonna clean it up. I keep hearing that, it's almost like the lesser of 2 evils. You want, like right now, if there wasn't a building there, if somebody didn't buy it and put a house there, how's that gonna get cleaned up?
Yeah, I'll do it. I'd be more than happy to go over there and clean that place up if they will just stop putting people in there.
I'll watch her do it.
It wouldn't be hard to mow. But, no, I just can't see nobody coming in there and doing the same thing that's been going on ever since he moved away from over there. He just keeps letting people come in there.
So what could that property be used for if it wasn't to put a house there?
Cattle.
I wouldn't even have a house down there myself. Because that creek, well, it won't block up now, it won't get over flooded now. Because they put that bridge in there, and it's a through bridge now. So the water won't back up no more, or they say it won't anyways.
And if we can't get nothing in there, it's just gonna be another vacant lot in Fayette County.
Mr. Gabbard?
Mow the grass, or put fence around it, put a calf in there to eat grass. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak, okay?
Me and it's short.
And Mr. Gabbard, you will have a chance to address all the issues that have been brought up.
All I have is one question. I know that some of you up there, if you guys have kids, grandkids, you would not let your children on that lot. God only knows why anybody would want to live there. After all the times that I have heard, they've got to clean it up, they've got to clean it up, why don't you? What's the problem?
Ma'am, the questions need to be addressed to the board, and we can then
Well, why
transfer
don't
that
he
on.
clean it up? He's been asked to how many times?
That is one of the legal situations that we live in this country, in this community, in our county, what we can legally enforce people to do on their own private properties.
But they cause
Our
everybody
county
else to
does
live
not-
in trash?
Our county does not have a nuisance property ordinance. So we cannot go in and force somebody to go clean up a property out in the county. The city has one, and they can get people to clean up properties, or the city can go in and do it for them. We do not have such a thing for the
County
county.
needs one.
Bill,
Talk to your commissioners
Bill,
to
didn't
pass such an ordinance.
sorry. Bill, didn't you work on one of those for a long time and present that to the county years ago?
There was one was when Mark Nobby, when he came in as a county commissioner. I was asked to prepare a draft of a nuisance code for the county. It took it was about a 2-year process to work through and prepare a draft. And when I say draft, it was a draft. It was modeled along the lines of what the city of Connersville has. Now, there were a lot of things that really need to be thought to put into it, so I added a lot of, these are things that the county commissioners would need to address. Now, I never went any farther. Once I gave it to the county commissioners, it was brought up a couple of times about the possibility of doing something with the nuisance ordinance. But the rationale that the reasons that the county commissioners have decided not to move forward with the nuisance ordinance, I really don't know, because none of them at any point have had those conversations with me. So one asked me to prepare the ordinance, and I put together a model ordinance. And I identified the questions or concerns that they could look at, and it was set up to where it could be dangerous buildings, it could be a property, it could be a noise ordinance, but all the various things that the city has in their nuisance ordinance were all included. And there's various things that you could do to change it to meet any concerns, such as, some of the farmers are concerned it could be misused against them, is what I've been told what some of the concerns were. But it was a work in progress, and I never asked to do any more work on it once I gave it to them.
If you want a nuisance ordinance, go to the commissioners meeting,
Who's that?
the county commissioners. When do they meet, Bill?
Okay, the first and third Tuesday mornings of each month. And the county commissioners are Barton Barker, Zane Bedore, and Frank Jackson.
Or contact them.
Yeah, or you can contact them.
Zane knows forgotten treasures in town.
Yeah. And So and it's one of those ones I personally think there needs to be something, particularly with abandoned properties, overgrown properties, at least along those lines. But it really is, it's constituents that would drive things like that.
Well, I tell you what, I smoke and there's not one cigarette butt in my yard. That drives me insane.
I would encourage you to go to the next county commissioners meeting. They will have a time for anyone to get up and speak. And I would encourage anyone and everyone, audience included, if you think this is important, go and speak your mind. Let them know that.
Because I've put together the draft, I've had different people over times ask for copies. Now, if you would like a copy of what I prepared, okay, you can stop by the Plan Commission office and I can give you a copy and show you what was put together.
Okay, say I start going to these things and talk with the commissioner and stuff like that. Say a trailer does go in again, and the same pileup starts happening.
Yeah,
Does that mean I can go to them and they'll do something?
Okay, now, what it does is, a nuisance ordinance such as what the city of Connersville has, what that does is, it has a much faster time frame for, number one, trying to fix a problem. It has much quicker as far as the issuance of fines to be placed on the property owner. And what is the ceiling, Mr. Baker, for these types of ordinances?
$2,500 a day is the fine,
Sorry.
but that's rarely done, usually it's an injunction. Whereby the court orders the property brought in compliance with the ordinance, and if it's not done, the city has authority to go ahead and do it themselves and put the cost of it on the tax roll,
And
or
that's,
demolish the property.
and that's the key one right there, is the authority to go in and clean something. And as Mr. Waterman was referring to, without that type of ordinance, there's no one within the county that has the authority to go in and clean. For example, is you could go to court to get someone to clean something up, say, the area plan commission, but if the person doesn't, then you have to then take them back to court, and then you're dealing, the contempt of court then that we run into with that. So, there's nothing to actually go beyond compelling through a court action without a physical action on the part of the county to go in and clean the property, and then as Mr. Baker said, then you bill, and then you can place it then actually on the property taxes as a lien.
Okay. Good enough.
Anyone else wish to speak?
My name's Bill Ramey, and I've been with D&J probably about 40 years now, it seems like. But I know Jerry Jennings for a long, long time. I manage a park right now for Jerry, and I've managed this park a little over 10 years probably. And we do have regulations and codes, even state codes, that we have to keep our parks cleaned, you know. And there's no reason that I would want to live in an environment that they're saying. So pretty much we would always keep it clean. And Jerry is a pretty big backer for me, close to the home and everything. And it's a 4-season home. It's a well-built home. It's got 2x6 walls and 2x10 flooring. So, very much, I mean, I do got a family, and I respect everything.
Very good, thank you, Mr. Ramey. Anyone else? Okay.
I just had a couple other concerns because I'm lightheaded. And I'd just like to tell this to Larry, I'm not concerned with someone falling in the well. I'm concerned about the ground contamination of what's in the bottom of the well. And there is a gas line that runs almost to the creek, because it may have been the first trailer you lived in had a dugout underneath of it where the hot water heater was. A girl that worked at Mousie's rented it, and every time it rained, I had to go and crawl under there and light her hot water heater. You don't light electric water heater. There is a gas line that runs almost to the creek. Right behind this trailer that's set there is a buried refrigerator with the top off of it. I don't know if it was a worm bed. I don't know if under it's a green tag. I never dug it up and looked. My concerns is not so much, I would sooner see it stay empty and grow up with weeds than to have the situation we've had for years. And I sit there and I wonder, if Larry sold his property to this man, which I do not know, should he not be applying for these variances instead of Larry? He's a prior property owner. If he sold him that property ain't got nothing to do with Larry now. Should this man, or if it's D&J doing it, shouldn't they be the ones that are applying for this variance? These multiple variances?
Okay, Mr. Gabbard is currently the property owner because the offers made on the property is contingent upon getting the variances. So which is why Mr. Gabbard is the petitioner.
Okay, I was.
Oh, that's
an excellent question.
It was
Yeah.
sold
Yeah.
to this man.
Yeah, that's an excellent question, but it's apparently the.
And I just have one question for him. Are you gonna own it, or is D&J gonna own it?
So I'll own it.
With the lien through D&J?
Right.
So what happens when the bill ain't paid?
Some kind of collateral because the home belongs to them.
It's not like Union Savings or a bank then holds the collateral. If you don't make the payments, then we got D&J across from our house doing whatever.
Duly noted.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Gabbard, now's your chance to address
Like I
the
said, I
issues.
lived there 8 years, and the well, I know for a fact there's nothing in the bottom of the well because it's sealed shut. The only way anything can get in is a pipe that's bigger than it. So, I know there's nothing in the bottom of the well. And when they run city water out, we done away with the well, hooked to city water, it's all there. Yes, there was a gas line, when the first garage burnt, we moved all that out and cleaned everything up. They come out and took the gas meter out. Well, they took the gas line all the way out to the front of the property. So that's cleared that up. As far as the property value, look at the property value with a single wide mobile home on it. This guy's wanting to put a house in. That's gonna help the property value there and everybody's that owns property around it. Mr. Ramey's been out there cleaning. When I got time, I've been over there cleaning. So, and like I said, I work 7 days a week, so it's kinda hard to, I have to make time, but I get over there and I clean up. And the one deal with the tree falling on the mobile home, it happened to be Mark Messer's tree that fell off his property, plumb across the trailer. So we got stuck cleaning all that up. And yes, there was a mess there for temporarily, but I called Mr. McDaniel and asked him how long I had to get it cleaned up, which the renter at the time was supposed to clean it up. He didn't do it, so it stuck me with it, which, like I said, I'm limited on time, so I got in and cleaned it up as fast as I could.
Oh, you also hired someone to clean it?
Yeah. And as far as the last trailer, you know, I was just done with it. Like I said, the renter broke back into it, set it on fire. And me and my wife started dealing with it. Yes, Mr. McCowan offered to buy it. He offered me $4,000 for the property.
Anyone have any questions
not questions, but I can say that this being well documented, I think whatever happens, that's a good thing, because in the future, if you have problems, if it does pass, and you do have problems and they don't do what they say they do, at least you've got that documented, so that's a good thing.
Now, I do have one more thing too. I know we talked about the last meeting, you know, it was used for a rental property. Well, Mr. Ramey buying it, he is going to live on the property. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
I guess Kenny, I think you said something that really paraphrased very well my feelings about it, and I'm the one that made the motion at the last meeting, and I don't think the McCallums were here for that, and I'm not sure how all that works, but in general, my feeling about this property and the reason I'm planning on, if the motion, do we use the same motion?
No.
You make a new one.
Okay, well, I'm gonna make the same one. But the reason is that, if nothing is done, then Mr. Gabbard's still gonna own the property. And going by history, I don't know him, I've been listening to everybody testify, listening to Bill, it's not going to get cleaned up. If he continues to own it, it'll look the same way it does right now, into perpetuity. I mean, it just will. So, in my mind, it's not a lesser of an evil, it's an opportunity for it to be cleaned at least once in its life. Because I don't see another way. I mean, I don't see any other option.
So if you made the same motion, then the refrigerator would be gone before he can get permits. All the insulation would be cleaned up.
Exactly.
Everything else that we've heard about will all have to be
Before he
removed.
could build the property, before he could build have the house there, everything would have to be cleaned. That, to me, is the key to it.
And Bill, you would be the one doing the inspections, right, to make sure that it is clean? So
They couldn't even-
batteries and,
They couldn't even get the permit
Correct.
to do anything
Until it's
until
clean.
after it's
Until all those things are clean. All the things are in the photographs, the stacks of tires that were still there, the various
The
auto parts
shingles,
that were there.
everything.
The shingles, the brush pile, all the various things that have been mentioned right here. And I do have a question then about that well. Is how deep is that well? Is that square well that was in the photograph, Mr. Messer?
McCown, not McCown.
McCown, excuse me, I'm sorry, I apologize.
That's fine.
Yes, I've had so many
Square
names.
top is a round well,
Yeah.
probably approximately 4 foot,
Mhm.
and it's not deep, it's approximately 15 feet, maybe 20.
Mhm.
And the bottom is a writing on
Okay,
in the bottom is car batteries,
okay.
and it's filled up with various articles, till it's maybe 2 foot deep. Like I said, I'm not really concerned about someone falling in it.
Okay, so I think another part would be making sure that everything's cleaned out of that too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Any other questions, discussion? A motion?
I make a motion that we approve the, try to find it in a minute. So I have the same one.
Yeah, but make sure every single one of the conditions that was made in the motion.
Right. To approve the variance with the conditions that the property be completely cleaned up prior to any permits being issued, and proper cleanup requires the buried refrigerator that was mentioned, any insulation, shingles, tires, any debris, and that the well is open and inspected to be sure that it's free of debris.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right. Any further discussion? If not, we'll call.
Okay. Jason Waterman,
Yes.
Carl Hilton,
Yes?
Carrie Steele,
Yes.
Kenny Burgess.
No.
All right, with the vote of 3-1, the motion passes. So, in order to build, that lot must be cleaned up entirely. And then once that has been done and Bill has a chance to verify that it has been cleaned up appropriately, then you can get the permits to begin construction, the foundation or whatever needs to be done. So, all righty. Yes.
I was at St. Vincent for 6 weeks, is why I didn't attend. the last meeting, didn't know about it. I was under the impression there had to be 5 in the forum.
This is a board of 5 members, so a quorum is only 3. Last month, we had
Saying
a
forum or quorum?
quorum with Q. Last month, we had 3 members here, but in order for any motion to pass, it has to have the majority of the 5.
Clear
So
my ignorance there.
3 people have to vote all in favor, or 3 people against. So tonight, we had 3 in favor of the motion and 1 against, so the motion passed. Last month, we had 2 in favor and 1 against, so we did not have a majority either way. That's why it was tabled and brought forward to this month.
Two's not one, no.
But you
We
have to have
to
majority of the 5.
majority, yeah, we had to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you need a majority of the entire board
I had the
itself.
same
Well
question.
said, thank you.
Yes, it's confusing.
I had the same question.
That it is, thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda is the director's report. You want to say anything, or do we get a motion to
I
approve?
would accept it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, any other items or a motion to
I
adjourn?
move to adjourn.
Voting chief, please.
Oh, yeah.
Do we have a second to adjourn?
There you go.
Adjourn.